Hello, Matt.
Rick, good morning.
Well, man, I am so excited for today, and you don't even know why.
I kind of do.
Well, you kind of should know why. So we're going to flip the script today, you guys, and I'm going to interview Matt. And so Matt's going to do talking. He's going to have a talking role in today's podcast.
It's going to be a lot of like one-word sentences.
Right. Yes. Mm-hmm. That kind of thing.
Back to you.
Right. Back to you in the studio, Rick.
What do you think about that?
Well, normally I talk incessantly, so this will be a nice break for everyone.
All right, y'all heard it. He's still going to talk incessantly.
I'm going to try not to.
It's better if you do.
We have a big announcement, so let's get on that first. So not to bury the lead, my man Matt is now my partner in the original Mothership gym. So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well deserved. And it should not be lost on you, which we haven't talked about this or anyone else, that gym is almost 30 years old. There's never been any owner of that gym except for me.
Wow.
No one's ever had any ownership in it. And so today I want to just basically talk about Matt, like as an individual. I know that you guys know him from the podcast, but really I think it would be great to map out your journey overall. I think it would be good for people to understand, like, you know, where you came from, like you were working at a different gym, came here, you know, we'll just kind of map out your overall story.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, it started long time ago.
Right, exactly.
Sure, man.
I was born. Well, tell the audience, I half remember, but it'll be fun to talk it back through, but tell the audience like how you found Alloy originally, and you know, what made you come to this place.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been training, believe it or not, for like 15 years now. I know I'm not as old as you, but I feel pretty old when I say that.
You're pretty old.
But I started out, you know, as like at a big club, which honestly, if you're starting out, it's a good way to see what it's really like. You know, you get to learn how to eat what you kill kind of thing, right? So you gotta learn how to sell pretty quickly and see if you got any chops in that to get clients.
Did you have to do that? Like where you were working, did you have to go out on the floor and just drum up business?
Some of it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of split where sometimes, you know, trainers would quit after 6 months and you just get their clients, you know, kind of deal. But yeah. You know, if you wanted to build your schedule, you had to go out there and talk to members. So that was a good learning experience. And what you realize is that there's a lot of trainers out there that are probably just, you know, watching YouTube or whatever and coming up with workout plans. So I did that for 5 years, had good success. It was good. Made, you know, enough money to survive, but definitely wasn't a, you know, way to keep it going. So then I was like, all right, well, I got to find something else. I was engaged to be married, or not yet, knew it was going to be soon. And I was like, so I started looking around and I stumbled upon Northpoint Personal Training, as it was called at the time.
Taking it back, man. That's funny.
So I think I emailed her, and they just emailed, and it was you who responded, and you're like, yeah, I don't have a spot, but would you be interested in a 6-week, I don't even know if you said 6 week, but just a mentorship program. And I just looked around and all of your stuff on, you know, Facebook. I don't even know we had Facebook back then, but you know, their website and stuff. And I was like, yeah, well, why not? So just came in here totally, you know, non-paid, and I hung around for 6 weeks. And I swear, I tell people all the time, I learned more in this place in 2 weeks than I think I learned in the previous 5 years, which is pretty cool. And a lot of it, you know, obviously still used today. And at the end of it, you actually told me that there wasn't actually a spot for me. So I went through it and basically just hung around long enough until somebody quit, or I don't even know if licensing was starting. You were kind of transitioning out a little bit. So I was fortunate and like, hey, bring you on part-time. So I started here, did a part-time training, slowly built up a schedule. Things progressed with the licensing business. So I got more, you let me be involved with, started programming back then at the start, worked my way up to full-time training, helping with licensing, and eventually turned into the director, where I did that for, I don't know, I swear I did that for at least four years solid, where I was onboarding new clients and taking care of all the members that we had in the gym. And at one time, I think I was looking over, I think we had 500 members.
Yeah, our peak was like 550 at one point.
It was a lot, which was really cool, by the way. I mean, like that role, like it's fun to be in. It seems a little daunting, but you get in there and you literally know everybody's name and you know about them, and you just walk on the floor and you're just high-fiving, and it was fun. So I did that for 4 years or so, while continuing to obviously help with licensing and build the programs. And then eventually you guys decided to transition to franchise, which I still say is my idea. And I joined the franchise team. And that kind of brings us all the way full circle to where we are today.
Man, it's hard to believe you've been here that long, because you're right. That was the birth of I was doing a bunch of consulting, but I was still very active in the gym, right? And so when I said, okay, I can't do any training anymore because licensing was just jumping off, you took my clientele. That was your first part-time schedule. It's like, hey, can you just take my clients?
Why don't you take the Dalai Lama's clients? Good luck.
You did great.
It was actually easier because they literally already knew how to do everything.
Right. All you had to do is learn how to tell dirty jokes crack and pick on them a little bit. You were good. Yeah. Well, that was cool because, I needed to hand them off to somebody, and everybody, at the time we had Anthony and Rebecca and Joe and all these baller trainers. So to fit in with those guys, you had to be able to carry your own, and you certainly did. And so, you were able to take over my part-time schedule, which allowed me to just get out of the gym completely.
Yeah, I used to remember coming in every day and just kind of hang around, hoping you would call out that day or something so I could take your schedule.
So, and I don't remember this. So you're telling me that after the mentorship, you basically were told there was no jobs available.
Yeah, at one point you told me there was nothing, and obviously things changed, and you were making some different business ventures and stuff, and you decided to bring me on. So,
did you stick around after the 6 weeks?
I was here for a solid 6 weeks. I wouldn't say that I just was hanging around, but I was still coming in, and I actually worked here. I worked here, part-time, trying to build a schedule, and at the place I was working previously.
And you were at a big box club, right?
Big box. I was doing both, and I was taking the stuff we were doing here and doing with clients there. It was kind of, which is, you can get away with a lot more, obviously, in a smaller studio. So in a big box, you got people bear crawling down the aisles. It's kind of...
I remember us having that conversation. You were 4 weeks into your mentorship, and I think we had college interns in at the time. We were all meeting at the same time, and you were like, how come no one knows any of this stuff? Or how come at my big box club, I try to go into a corner and have my clients do functional training? Because even at that time, functional training wasn't what it is now. I mean, most big box clubs have turf and kettlebells and things like that. But back then, nobody did, right?
Yep.
And so you were trying to have your clients do these things, and you had purchased your own tools and were bringing them into the gym and taking them home at the end of the day. It's like, how do I get over that? I'm like, oh, they'll get there eventually. And they finally did. And hopefully, in some parts, some clubs got there because of us, right? Some brands,
absolutely.
we built it for them.
They literally go to a corner with a mat and bring some valve slides over and, a couple of resistance bands, and people looking at me like, what the hell are you doing over there?
Why do you have furniture sliders in the gym, Matt?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I tell you what, like you said, you get really good results with it. Clients love it, and it's like, so it makes you a much more valuable coach. So, so we fast forward to, we open franchising. Your head of your official title is VP of Program Design, right, for the franchise, and that means you also look at all new technology, so delivery systems for programming, writing all programs, all of those things, right? And that's a pretty big job. It really is. And you do it very efficiently. And again, it's one of those things that you just spent so much time doing it. We talked on another podcast about the 10,000 hour rule. Now you're just like, oh, I can pump out these programs all day. And I'm like, well, yeah, but you're now writing programs for the franchise, which are different than the programs for licensing, right? And you do them both. And it's like just something that you could do in your sleep almost, which is really amazing. So all that being said, what made you, because let me back up a second and just say that I didn't approach Matt, which is very compelling. So I'm going to tell you why. So I didn't approach Matt, I didn't approach you, as you know, about buying into the business, right? I did not. You approached me. Well, that says a lot, right? It's it's one thing to try to talk someone into buying into a business. And it was the same thing when Anthony came to me, almost 5 years ago now, and said, hey, I would like to do something more. What are your ideas? Do you have anything for me? But he came to me. We called a meeting, we sat down, and he said, hey, this is what I want to do. And it was similar with you. And I would say to anybody listening, whether they're on our team or just out and about, if you want something like that, right? If you think, hey, I think I could contribute here, or I want what's next, or I want ownership stake in something, or I want to diversify my investment portfolio, whatever those things are, you just have to do it, right? I find it interesting that some people might, in certain organizations, we see this where people sit back and you sit there long enough, and then there's maybe an expectation that you're going to get more, or that someone's just going to reach out and hand you something, right? And if you perform well in any organization, certainly ours, you're going to be recognized and you're going to have opportunities. But sometimes to create those opportunities, if it's something that you want, to assume that it's just going to be created on your behalf because you've been sticking around for 10, 12 years like you've been here, it's just not true. You have to literally say, hey, this is what I want to do. What are your thoughts, right? Which is exactly what you did, with taking stake in the original gym here. Mm-hmm. So what were your thoughts? Like, what made you think you wanted to stake to actually become an owner? Because, by the way, you guys, anybody listening, don't panic. Matt is still keeping his full-time, obligations and still running the entire play for VP of programming for all of Alloy. So he's going to continue to do that. So he's still on the corporate team. What made you want to diversify and get into brick and mortar ownership?
Well, I mean, it wasn't like I just thought of it overnight. I mean, I'm usually pretty calculated with those kind of things. I mean, I know I've been here for a long time. I've seen a lot of changes. And quite honestly, I saw that there was a need and a good opportunity to get in on that side. And I knew that, we needed some help with it. And I believe in what we do in our brand. And I honestly missed a little bit, love being over there with the clients and hanging out with them. So I was like, this seems like a win for everybody in the building. It would be a win for you personally and the organization and for me. So, I mean, really nothing more than that. I mean,
well, that's a fair answer. And I will say that for me, I've been, and you probably knew this, but I didn't know that you were interested, right? Until you told me, looking for sort of that owner operator to work it, like an operating partner to be able to work the gym, right?
Sure.
And even though it's literally just a piece of glass between us and the working gym, it's completely different business model than building and selling franchising, which is where I'm spending most of my time. Mm-hmm. And so it really is difficult to run two businesses, right, at that level. And so you can hire folks, like you can hire managers or whatever, but the engagement is not going to be the same as it is if you have an actual stakeholder in that business. And I really learned that certainly by working with Anthony,
right? Yeah.
And having him be a true owner. So we're partners, right? It's like, that's a whole different level of obligation and relationship than it is when you have a manager. Right. And so, for me, it was something I wanted. I think you probably knew that intuitively, even though we didn't talk about it a lot, but it allows me to have a bit of a barrier between me and the brick and mortar so that I can focus on, again, attention is a hard thing, right? Focus on what I'm focusing on. And for you, it's the opportunity to invest and then get a good return on investment. So certainly if you invest at a time like now where most businesses are kind of flat or maybe off a little bit, right? It's a good time, if you think about it strategically, to be like, hey, you see where this thing is headed. You know that Alloy has a very relevant offering coming out of this. We've got this sort of vaccination on the horizon, which is actually causing even more people to pause right now. It's kind of weird. It's like we joke, we were talking about paralleling, trying to sell fitness in December with everyone saying, well, just give me a few more weeks, because the new year's almost here. This is exactly what we're seeing with the vaccinations, right? I haven't caught it yet. I'm just going to continue to hole up at home. I'll get the vaccination, then I'll come see you guys, and that
we even had people come in and then leave because then once the vaccines.
Yeah, once the vaccine where they could see the light at the end of the tunnel, they're like, well, I haven't caught it yet. I don't want to risk it. And they actually went the other way and hold up, right? And it's not just here. They basically hold up in all areas of their life. And so, it's interesting. So, good opportunity. Well, other than that, how much, obviously you just broke the news to me, a little while back, and then we had a chance to discuss how we were going to handle it and, how we're going to message it. But what else went through your mind? Because I know you said you'd had a lot of sleepless nights just thinking about it. So what were some of the things that you thought about?
Well, I mean, I obviously, like I said, I believe in our brand and want to get in one. And the biggest motivator was me. I was like, well, I can still keep doing what I'm doing currently. And I also get you to lean on until you build a barrier between us. So I was like, this is the best case scenario for me. I mean, and then that's why we want to franchise anyways, because I literally have the support. Me personally, I have the support right next door to help me with whatever I need, marketing, whatever it is.
Right.
I have you guys, and I'm not, going out on my own and all of a sudden I have to figure this out, quite honestly.
Right.
So it made me feel better knowing that. And then timing. just 100%.
Yeah.
It's a good opportunity. Like, and I didn't know you were already looking.
Right. Yeah. It was interesting. Like Matt starts out, he's like, hey, I would like to talk about taking stake in the gym. And he barely gets it out of his mouth. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
So we call our guy, we have a deal maker, attorney, business advisor. And, I think the document will be drawn up like 2 days after Matt brought it up. It's like, here, sign off.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, exactly. Peace. I'm out of here. No, I mean, it's just by default that our corporate offices are attached to the gym. So obviously we're in here all the time. And plus you still got the corporate gig, which is really important. So
it's a good opportunity for me. I love it. I mean, it's going to help us overall because in our Stronger One model, this is the same kind of stuff that you're doing with Anthony. So I think it's going to help us in the future for sure.
Yeah. And for those of you guys who are listening, so we own both models. So we have a Stronger One and a Stronger Two, and it's really just about capacity, like overall capacity. Stronger One is 1,500 square feet, around 120, 130 client capacity. Stronger Two, 2,500 to 3,000 square feet. And that's more like 250, 260, maybe up to 300 if you're just absolutely ultimately efficient clients. And so this is the Stronger Two model that Matt is buying into, the original location, whereas my partnership with Anthony's in the Stronger One model. But it's good. I'm really glad to have really good operating partners in both businesses. And I think this is something that we'll be able to help our franchisees navigate how to manage these relationships, even though we can't overstep our boundaries and say, hey, have your partnership agreement look like this. I think we'd be remiss not to just at least, speak to what our experiences have been.
Sure.
Right. So that the folks that we're working with that are investors that don't want to go and work in the gym, right? Because they don't have time because they have 2 other businesses, or maybe it's something that they're like, hey, I'm not a fitness person. I don't fully get it, but I love what we're doing. I got a great guy out of Texas right now that I'm talking to. And he's just a really super cool guy. And he's been working on the back end of medicine for a while with these medical devices, right, that help people. But he's like, I always thought it'd be cool to get on the front end of this thing, right? And, it's his dream to have 3 to 5 locations regionally and to be sort of, the brand ambassador. But he'll be the first to tell you, like, I like to work out a lot, but I don't know anything about that. But like, I don't want to be in the gym, right? Like his technical proficiency or maybe even sales or whatever, even though he's in sales. You know what I mean? It's like, no, like I need the operating partners, but if I have 5, I'm the guy to go out and build community and slap backs and kiss babies and just, to do the feel good stuff about the business and the leadership for my, operating partners. And so that's kind of where I feel like I sit right now. So I think it's going to be a good way for us to, in both models, and these are some of my motivations that maybe you and I didn't even talk about, like in both models to explain like what's the role of the operating partner, right? Like how many hours do they work? What's a day in the life of look like? I mean, all these kind of things, right, that are really important. So yeah, man, I'm stoked. And you certainly earned it. You've been here forever. And, I think anybody listening to the podcast understands how you think, and that's really important. It's not even like, hey, run this play. At some level, you have to think a certain way, right? Because as you know, both of our corporate locations are laboratories, and so I'm sure that we're going to be trying things and coming up with new things that will benefit our franchisees in the future. Some won't be good, some will be good, but it's good to have partners in those seats that are willing to kind of step outside the boundaries a little bit of what we've always done and try new things so we can test them and then pass them along if they're successful to our franchisees.
Absolutely.
And that requires, again, a certain mindset and lens on growth, right? Personal growth, like business growth. Thinking outside the box. It's like, all right, so what type of marketing is going to be? If Facebook is not as, relevant as it was because of an iOS update or blah, 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 can we go back to more guerrilla community outreach? What about referral drives? These kind of things. And those are things that really take great in-house leadership to pull off, right? And time, to be honest. And so, yeah, I'm super excited about it, and just for the bandwidth as well. And because you sat in that seat forever, and because our longevity with clients is so good, a lot of people still come to you by default. So we haven't made a public announcement yet, you guys, about this for Matt, but we're going to do it really soon. He did talk to the staff, the team, and let them know. And everybody's upbeat and excited about it. So I think from a client's perspective, it's going to be super natural progression. And they'll be really pumped to have you more involved at the gym because by default, they walk through the glass and come talk to you anyway. So to know that now it's official, right?
They just want to beat me in ping pong.
They do. It's impossible. Even Jake, our photography, our stud,
that was a battle.
Videographer, comes down from Nashville, and he looks like he's been training in the Far East for years with these crazy spin serves and stuff. And Matt still beat him too. And Jake, this is for you, man. If you come back down, you got to brush up on your game. Somebody's got to beat Matt. Somebody's got to knock him off his pedestal. Well, listen, it was a short and sweet today, but I just wanted people to understand the mentality, like what you're thinking to get there. I wanted to make a public announcement, and I wanted to say congrats and shake your hand. Welcome,
Thank
partner.
you, sir.
Yeah, man.
No, I
Glad to
appreciate
have
it.
you.
It's a great thing. And I mean, it just thinking of the franchise, it's, again, we actually are in the trenches doing it. So it just, to me, it makes us look better, and we'll be able to help anybody.
Yep. And so your franchise team are actually gym owners, and that should be really important for you because they actually understand exactly what you're going through and how to help you grow.
That's right. That's right.
All right, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
See you guys.